If you clicked on this video, you're probably in the deep trenches of looking for housing in Japan. I remember living that nightmare, been there, done that, but I'm so glad you found this video because I'm here to share everything I wish I knew in the apartment hunting process. Hi, my name is Shawnee and I recently moved to Tokyo to attend language school. I was looking for housing just a few months ago too, and last October, I found my dream apartment. You can check out the apartment tour in this video, and you can also check out my Japan playlist for other Japan videos. I remember during the apartment hunting process, I kind of watched some videos and they kind of showed how to navigate some housing websites, but I was still very confused about the entire process. I was like, am I supposed to just reach out to all these listings? That's not quite all there is to it, so I wanted to make this video to explain the entire journey of finding a house. Oh my gosh, it was tough. Disclaimer, this is not professional advice. I will be sharing my experience, but also I literally went around to all my classmates and I asked them how they found housing because I wanted to have more sample points to reference. So I think you're in good hands. Also, I'm not sponsored by anyone, I wish. So every platform or agency I list is literally just what I've researched or heard good things about. So let's get into the video. Today I'll mostly be focusing on how to rent an actual apartment, but I just wanted to preface that there are other housing options. Since they might actually interest some of you, I'll run through these quickly. If you know for sure you want an apartment, you can skip to the apartment hunting section. One of the popular housing options is sharehouse. You get your own bedroom, but you share kitchen, bathroom, living areas. The pros is that it's cheaper than getting your own apartment. If you're social and you like living with other people, could be a good fit. The con is that you do live with other people, so you have to put up with whatever shenanigans that come with that. These are share houses listed on my school's website, so they're definitely not scams. I've definitely heard of Sakura House, Interwow, and Oak House more than the other two, but I'm sure they're legit too. There are also short-term accommodation options. Leo Palace is a popular one. There are mixed reviews all over Reddit. You can read that to your heart's content. There are also monthly mansions, which, as the name says, you can stay for as short as a month. The pros of short-term accommodations are they're available for the short term, they cater to foreigners, and they have English-friendly websites. It's like an easier process to rent. There's a low upfront cost because for renting an actual apartment, there are so many initial costs. But for short-term stays, you can usually avoid guarantor, key money, brokerage, or deposit fees, which I will explain later. And you can avoid furnishing costs because they usually come furnished. The con is that it's more expensive in the long run. If you're staying here for a longer time, it's almost certainly more worth it to rent an apartment and buy your own furniture. For students, if you're a student, you might want to check with your school or language school if they have a dormitory option. For example, my language school, Naganuma School, does have a girls-only dorm. I didn't choose it because the commute is an hour away from school, which is totally normal in Tokyo terms, but it was a bit too far for me. You can also check out international residence halls, and these are the ones my school has on their website, so they're definitely legit. I will link them in the description box. So I have a friend who actually lives in Kyoritsu, and he says he pays around 80,000 yen for a private room, although they have communal bathrooms, but they also have breakfast and dinner included, which is honestly a pretty good deal. I checked their site and it seems like they have both short and long-term options, so you can definitely check it out if you're interested. On to the bread and butter of renting an apartment in Japan. Listen carefully because this is the stuff that you don't learn until you actually go through the process yourself. Renting an apartment here is a bit difficult because so many properties are not available to foreigners. But I've broken the process down to 4 simple steps. Step 1, which is the most important step, is find a good real estate agent. If you speak English, then it would be very helpful to have an English-speaking agent. A good agent can really make or break your experience because some of them won't care and they won't want to help if you're a foreigner, but some of them will really try to help you get a place you like. So you might be wondering, do I have to have a real estate agent? That sounds like so much trouble. Can't I just directly contact the listing off sites like Sumo? Yes, you can, but what most people don't know at first is that even if you contact the property directly off sites like Sumo, you still have to pay the real estate agent fee, which is usually a month's rent, and that's because they manage the listing. It's not like you're directly contacting the landlord. The landlord usually isn't involved in the process. We as tenants don't communicate with them. The agent on the listing website usually doesn't speak English. They'll just say, oh, it's unavailable to foreigners, and they won't try to help more. These agents on the listing get a commission for renting out that apartment. On the other hand, if you find a real estate agent yourself, they get paid whenever you sign any property. So they want to help you find the property that you like. So having your own agent will really make the process a lot easier. Step 2, now that you have your agent, you should go on some housing websites, look for listings that you like, and send them to your agent. The biggest listing platforms are Sumo, At Home, and Lifefuls. I personally use Sumo and I believe it has the most listings. Step 3, your agent will check if these apartments are available and if they're foreigner friendly. So agents have a back-end internal website where they can check the same listings, but they're more updated. So like they might be rented out already, but not updated on the public website. They also see some listings that aren't posted on the public website yet. If a listing seems available, the agent will call and check, because a lot of the properties listed are actually bait. They want you to inquire, but it's actually unavailable. They just want to refer you to other properties they manage. The agent will also ask if the apartment's foreigner friendly, because many are not. Literally, in my personal experience, less than 5% of those listings that you see on websites like Sumo are available for foreigners. Japanese landlords really don't want to rent to foreigners because it's just like a hassle for them. On the back end, the agent can also see if others have already sent an application to the listing. If someone has, the agent usually won't put you on the list because it's essentially first come, first serve. They usually take the first person on the list. Also, after you send listings to your agent, they'll get a better idea of what you like, and they'll send you some options that you might not have been able to find yourself. Finally, step 4, when you find an apartment that is available and foreigner friendly, then you can apply. Your agent will send in a request for you. You wait a few days to a week. Once they okay it, you can sign and pay. And so yeah, that's it. 4 steps to the apartment hunting process. Moving on, I thought I would give some examples of how my friends and I actually found our apartments, just to provide a range of experiences and priorities. So hopefully it's helpful. So first off, there's me. I definitely used all the resource searching skills that they teach you going to a reputable college, and I went on Instagram. I actually found a Taiwanese agent, but I did see some English-speaking ones. If you're fluent in Mandarin, I honestly would recommend using that to your advantage, because there are a lot of Mandarin-speaking agents here, and I found that they usually try to go out of their way to help you more. I think it's like some Asian customer service mentality. My agent was super nice, and he took me to go register my Zyru card, which is way beyond his job description duty. I had another friend who found a Chinese agent on Rednote who also helped him set up his Wi-Fi. Anyways, my agent and I video called maybe like 3 times for an hour each. He screen shared and we looked on the internal website together. He ended up finding my place on the internal website, but he did tour some places on Sumo for me that were foreigner friendly. So there's that. Also, that was really kind of him to do. I don't think that's industry standard. My place ended up being a 1R, which I pay around 150,000 yen for. That's a studio, but I will explain the room layouts later on in the video. Next is friend A. Friend A found his agent on Living Japan, which I will link in the description below. So he said they have English agents and they were willing to video conference with him to look for different places on the internal website together. On the other hand, he had contacted listings elsewhere and other agencies just told him that it's not foreigner friendly. His place is a 1K for 100,000 yen. Friend B used Able. Able is a real estate agency and they have different local agents at different locations. Friend B said she didn't work with one agent specifically, but she reached out to a lot of listings in different locations. They didn't really send her any recs, but they just checked the availability of her requests. Able has an English page, but I'm not sure how good their English is because friend B speaks Chinese and Able has a Chinese website, but she had to fully communicate in Japanese. Friend B doesn't really speak Japanese, so she fully just ChatGPT translated, but she said she had to FaceTime when signing and she had a Japanese speaking friend help her. But like, even if their English isn't too good, I mean, here's proof that you can just ChatGPT your way through it. Friend B said she chose to use Able because apparently local Japanese people use this site. She said they take a lower agency fee. For her, they only took 50% of a month's rent. So her place is a 1K for 84,000 yen. So friend C rented from Kovo.jp, which is a company with higher end apartment listings. Communication is Japanese only. They don't have English staff, but friend C also doesn't speak Japanese and he fully winged it with ChatGPT too, so there's that, you know? Friend C said he started by looking on Instagram. He searched the location and room type. For example, Meguroku 1LDK, and that's what led him to Kovo. And his place is a 1LDK for about 200,000 yen. He actually didn't pay an agency fee. I'm not sure if that applies to Kovo's other apartments. I guess it kind of compensates for the high rent. Also, to clarify, friends A, B, and me all rented before arriving in Japan. Friend C rented after arriving, but I did check with Kovo and they said they have some overseas options. So all these routes should be viable if you're looking to rent before coming. So as you can see, there's like a million ways you can look for housing. So you do need to, unfortunately, roll up your sleeves and do the dirty work of utilizing the internet. You can look on Instagram, Facebook. There are Tokyo rental Facebook groups, but just be careful of scams. YouTube, Rednote for Mandarin speakers, asking people who've come before. Honestly, Reddit has great advice, but I hope these real examples are helpful in kicking off your search. I'm sure many of you guys are curious how much it actually costs to move. Renting an apartment in Japan has a huge upfront cost. I'll be running through what it consists of. First is deposit, which is often a month's rent. They'll return it at the end, but they might deduct some fees from it, like room cleaning fee. Then there's key money, which is a gift to the landlord. It's a Japanese cultural thing. It's often a month or even 2 months rent. Apparently it's very difficult for landlords to raise rent in Japan, so that's why they take so much money at the start. Yeah, it's painful. Next is the guarantor fee, which is basically insurance for your landlord. If you don't pay rent, the guarantor company will pay and then they'll go after you. Some places do allow for personal guarantors, but many places don't because it's riskier for them, and it's also hard to find a personal guarantor in Japan if you don't know anyone. Guarantor fee also comes with an annual renewal fee if you stay longer than a year. For example, mine is 10,000 yen if I want to stay in this apartment a second year. That's not an upfront cost, but just keep that in mind if you're staying long term. There's first 2 months rent and management fee. There's agent fee, which is usually 1 month, but it varies. There's other miscellaneous fees like key replacement fee, which is for changing the locks for you, fire insurance, and some other small random fees. For example, I had an emergency support fee that was like 1,300 yen a month. My agent was able to get it waived. So some of the smaller fees, you should definitely ask if it's possible to get waived. My apartment cost breakdown, I will break it down exactly for you guys. My monthly rent is 141,000 yen base rent, 10,000 yen management fee, and 220 yen guarantor fee. So my total monthly rent is 151,220 yen, which is about $960 USD. For my upfront cost, I paid 1 month base rent for deposit. They will return this, but they'll deduct a room cleaning fee of 38,500 when I move out. I luckily didn't have key money. My guarantor fee was 50% of my total monthly rent. I paid first 2 months base rent, first 2 months management fee, agent fee was 1 month base rent plus 10% tax, key replacement, fire insurance, and my total upfront cost was 725,210 yen, which is about 4,600 USD. Man, that's a lot. Renting from overseas versus after arrival. So this is another choice you have to make. I'll list the pros and cons of each option. So if you're renting from overseas, the pros is that you have certainty and reassurance that you have a place to stay when you come to Japan. Also, you don't need to pay for short-term accommodation, which can be quite expensive. If you get a hotel for a week or two, it can literally be a month's worth of rent. The con is that there's fewer properties available. Because let me tell you, remember when I said like 5% of the properties on listing platforms are available to foreigners? There's like 2% available to foreigners renting from overseas. Not a lot of options at all. They're also typically more expensive, and of course, another con is that you don't get to tour in person. So I personally did choose to rent from overseas because I could not deal with the stress of coming without having an apartment. But my agent kindly did tour some apartments for me and he sent me video tours, so I was comfortable with signing. Definitely just got really lucky with my agent. Renting after arrival. The pros is definitely that you get to tour in person, see the vibe of the place before you actually commit to it. Also, there are more options once you're in Japan and they might be cheaper too. Cons is definitely the uncertainty and also the expensive short-term stays. You can try hostels, capsule hotels, share house, or some of the short-term stay options previously mentioned for cheaper options. I also thought it might be helpful to share my timeline for apartment hunting. For signing an actual apartment, I was really worried about looking for apartments early, so I reached out to my agent 3 months in advance. He told me that I could not apply until I got my certificate of eligibility, COE, and my letter of admission. The COE essentially says that you're approved for a visa, so you can look for housing without having a visa yet. If you're working, I believe you need the COE and your employer contract or a letter of job offer. My school gave my COE a month in advance, so that's actually when I started looking. I started in September and looked for about 2 weeks. I was sending my agent listings and he was sending me listings. We were video calling and looking at the internal website together. I applied on September 14th. It was approved on September 18th. I paid the deposit and got everything confirmed on September 19th, and my move-in date was October 1st. My agent also said a lot of apartments don't rent that far in advance because they aren't vacated yet, and since landlords want tenants to move in soon after signing. So yeah, if you're really stressed because the time's coming up, just know that I signed my place 2 weeks before coming. I was really sweating it too, but it's gonna be okay. Lastly, I just have some bonus tips that I think are helpful, so I'm just gonna run through them. 1, you can Google Translate housing websites. Just hit that button on the top right corner, read it all in English. That's what I did. On these websites, you just check your preferences and it's pretty self-explanatory. 2, people generally recommend renting an apartment after 1981 since there were new earthquake resistance standards implemented, and so it's safer. There are a ton of earthquakes in Japan, so. 3, people generally don't recommend living on the first floor because of bugs and privacy concerns. If you want to hang your laundry outside, people can get to it. Also, if you're a woman, there might be perverts. Japan is generally pretty safe, but still taking precautions. 4, people recommend reinforced concrete over wood because of soundproofness and insulation. 5, if possible, you definitely want to live close to the train station. You should definitely check your commute time from your place to school or work, because that is the route you're going to be taking every day. Definitely prefer a direct line to school or work because transferring is kind of annoying. It is often inevitable. Transportation time of an hour plus is common in Tokyo, but personally I'm at 40 minutes from school and it's already getting on my nerves. I feel like I'm wasting so much of my life commuting, so definitely consider transportation access. 6 is you can possibly live outside of Tokyo and train in. For example, Musashi Kosugi is in Kanagawa Prefecture, but it's a 15-minute train ride to Shibuya. Might be a little cheaper, although Musashi Kosugi is getting to be a big commuter city, so it might not be that cheap, but just saying that these options exist. 7 is Japanese apartments have different room layouts. I will post the descriptions here and you can read them. You'll definitely see these when you're checking preferences on housing platforms online. Lastly, not sponsored, but I recommend kasite.com for renting furniture if you happen to need that. It was easy for me and cheaper than other furniture rental sites that I found, so just wanted to share. I know that was a lot of information, but I really hope it was helpful. I remember how much I struggled finding housing and how stressed I was in the process, so I totally get it. I'm wishing you guys all the best of luck. Just know that you will find your house, and then welcome to Japan. Hope you guys have an amazing 2026. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye! Moni-san, how did you find housing in Tokyo?
I live with my boyfriend. I didn't find housing. I already had housing waiting for me.
Here I am, I have a plan, I'm living free.